You guys mentioned like keeping people on the phone longer. Can I get engagement higher? Can I increase my talk time? When our intent is to keep people on the phone longer, what ends up happening is we emit an energy, whether we know it or not, that feels needy and desperate. I'm going to read you a transcript of a call that someone made to Comcast to try to cancel their internet. And the person that they're calling is a retention specialist. And while I'm reading this, I want you to think about what the intent is of the retention specialist. So the person says, I'd like to cancel my internet. And the retention specialist says, why would you like to cancel your internet? We have the fastest speed in your area. And the customer says, I decline to answer. Can you please cancel my internet? And the retention specialist says, but why would you like to cancel? As I mentioned before, we have the fastest speed in your area. And the customer said, again, I'm declining to answer. Can you please cancel my internet? And the retention specialist says, but why? We're also offering free HBO this month. This went on for a couple minutes. It's actually recorded and the call went viral on the internet. Who can tell me what the intent was of the retention specialist? What was their intent? What were they trying to do?
To keep people on the phone.
Why?
So you can try to like knock it out of it.
Why? What is that guy paid to do?
Make it harder for them to cancel their internet.
Yes. Why? That's how he makes. That's how he gets comped.
Mm-hmm.
Just like you get comped to book meetings. The problem is that when that's your intent going in, you behave a certain way because your intent affects how you behave, whether you realize it or not. People can pick up on it. So of course you believe in what you're selling and you have a hypothesis. But what I'm going to suggest here is to actually detach from assuming that the person that you're calling actually needs what it is that you're selling, and that your job is to discover if there's even a problem first that needs solving. That shift alone is going to change how you sound when you pick up the phone. You're going to sound more relaxed and chill. I'll give you an example of a cold call I got last week. This person was completely detached. Her name was Kendra. Actually, it was more than a couple weeks ago. She calls me up. I'm in the car actually with my wife, and the phone rings, and I go, hello. And she goes, hey, Josh, this is Kendra. I'm with a company called Gravy. I didn't think you'd pick up the phone. I'm actually at the drive-thru at Starbucks, mid-sip. And I said, what are you drinking? She goes, a macchiato. I go, how can I help you? She goes, yeah, I was on your site and I noticed you sell a lot of products. And I was wondering how you're currently dealing with people that have failed credit card payments. Like, are you doing that yourself, or do you have a team of people that like tracks them down? And I said, I'm using Stripe for that. Now, most salespeople would think that was an objection that they had to overcome, but not Kendra. She leaned back and she goes, oh, it sounds like you're logging into Stripe and you're frequently checking the failed credit card report. And I said, what the heck is that? I don't even know about that. She goes, I don't know if this is even an issue for you. If you'd like, I can send you some instructions. You can check to see if that's happening. And if so, we can continue the conversation. And that's exactly what she did. So what she's doing is she is sorting, not selling. She's actually trying to discover if there's a potential problem to solve. I'll demonstrate this now with Meredith, who I don't know. Meredith, would you agree that we don't know each other? We've never spoken before.
Yes, I don't.
Now watch this. So I don't know Meredith at all. But Meredith, I don't know if you saw this. This just came on my radar. I'm going to pull this up last week. So National Public Data just released this statement that 270 million unique social security numbers have been hacked. So things like full names, addresses, phone numbers, birthdays. Have you checked to see if any of your information was leaked?
No, I haven't.
Now she's a little curious, probably. She's like, is my information leaked? Notice what I'm not doing. I'm not pitching my solution. I'm asking a question. I'm detached from the outcome. For all I know, she could say, I have something in place for that, and I just checked it last week. To which I would say, sounds like you're all set, because there's no problem there for me to solve. Give you another example. I was in the mall with my wife. I did not need anything. She was returning something, as she often does. We have 6 Amazon packages out right now. I guarantee she's returning all of them tomorrow. That's another conversation. We were going to grab dinner afterwards. I go into fit to run, not needing anything. So if the store associate said, what brings you in today? Can I help you? Do you have a problem with your sneakers? Can I show you these new sneakers? I'm saying I'm not interested, because they're pitching and explaining. But she shifted from explaining to asking a question. And when you ask a question, brains have to hold up their end of the bargain. She looked down at my sneakers. She said, are you a runner? I said, I am. She goes, training for any races? I said, actually, a half marathon. And she said this, you've probably had a running gait test. And my desire to correct kicked in, just like the person that was asking about the Social Security. Well, I haven't checked my number. I said, what's a running gait test? And moments later, I have video of this. I'm on a treadmill in the store. She freezes the frame, zooms into my ankles, and she goes, notice how your ankles are overpronating when you run. And I go, yeah. So she goes, well, the problem is for many runners, when you run long distances over 6 miles, you can get injured if you're running in sneakers that are not made for pronated feet, plantar fasciitis and runner's knee. How are you dealing with that in your sneakers? Have they been tested for pronated feet? And I said, I don't know. She goes, if you'd like, I could test them and see. And about 6 minutes later, I'm spending $180 on new sneakers and insoles. You see here, she's illuminating a problem. One more example, because we're going to turn this to your prospects, and this is going to help you open up more doors, these 2 ideas. I was going down to see a concert down in Miami, a band called Krungbin. Am I saying that right, guys? Krungbin, do you guys know who that is? 3 people and a bass guitar player. Am I dating myself? Krungbin, I think is the name of the band. Get a call, and the person says, Josh knows you're going down in Miami to see a concert. When you go down to events in Miami, are you driving the car yourself and trying to find parking? Taking an Uber? Or are you able to reserve a spot in advance so you don't have to fight traffic? And that last one, I said, what is that? She goes, oh, you probably heard of Spot Hero. And I said, no, what is it? And then an opening was created by asking the right question. So when we're making cold calls, when we have conversations with people, we're detached. And what we're going to do is, instead of pitching and explaining and convincing, we're going to shift into asking a neutral question about a potential problem. And we'll go through some examples for your business. I'll give you some frameworks and we'll practice this. And when you're detached, you're going to sound relaxed and chill, like Kendra did. Like this real estate agent did that called me yesterday. Hey, Josh, my name's Matt. I'm an agent in Boca. Do you still own the home on Marbella Drive? I do. Josh, as you probably know, there's a lot of demand for homes in that neighborhood. People are paying above asking price. Have you considered selling it? I go, no, I love it here. And what the agent didn't try to do was convince me. He said, oh, it's probably your forever home. And my desire to correct kicked in. Well, I don't know about my forever home. We'd like to move to the mountains one day. And then he created an opening and asked me if I would be on his newsletter list because he sends comps in the area. And I said, yes. And now I get his newsletter. And when I'm ready to buy, I'll probably think of him. All because he knew the questions to ask. All right, so the superpower here is we got to formulate a question. I call it poking the bear. That gets people to scratch their head and think, that's a good question. Lucas, if you don't mind me asking, and you can pass on this because it's a little bit of a personal question. Do you get like annual, you're a young guy, this might not be on your radar, but Lucas, do you get like annual exams, physicals, go to the doctor, make sure you're healthy, get any kind of blood work done?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Mandatory for the health.
Okay, so Lucas, I'm going to keep you off mute for a second. So I did this too. I've been going every year since I was 30, and my cholesterol has always been great. So I never had a problem. I eat healthy. I work out like 7 days a week. I read a book called Outlive by Peter Attia. Have you ever heard of him, Dr. Peter Attia?
Never, but I'll put them in the notes, Josh.
Put them in the notes. I'm reading this book and he starts talking about this thing called LDL particle size, which is the number one indicator of heart disease and heart attacks. And here's the kicker. It's not tested on common blood panels. Sure enough, I looked at mine. It wasn't tested, so I got it done. When I'm doing workshops, I actually show my results. And my LDL particle size number was in the critical red zone. Lucas, have you had your LDL particle number checked recently?
I don't even know if I've ever gotten it checked, Josh. So thanks for bringing that to my attention.
That's the idea. Now, he might be a little curious about that and look into it. And now I've created an opening. Or he might say, I don't care about stuff like that. It's not interesting to me, or I had that done and it's not like something I care to look about. That's okay too. We're not for everyone. But notice what I didn't do. I didn't pitch my solution, which in this case is a product called Function Health that does this specific type of test, because the solution has no value without a problem. And yet as sales professionals, and I've done this too, when I first started out, we've all been taught to pitch. Well, I can't pitch a solution to someone that doesn't drive down to Miami and isn't looking at concerts, or that doesn't value blood work, or that already had this done. So it's madness to lead with solutions. What we want to do is shift to the question. So that's principle number one. Principle number two is this, equally important. I want everyone to put a thumb up and keep it up if you have more than 2 pairs of shoes in your closet. Okay. More than 5 pair. More than 7 pair. More than 15 pairs of shoes in your closet. Keep your thumbs up. More than 20 pair. Okay. Who do you think, if I'm selling shoes, I want to target? Lucas. This brings me to the second biggest mistake I made as an SDR, is not slowing down and figuring out who my Lucases are. Because it's not everyone. Whenever I go and do workshops and I tell people to pull up their list and I ask them to defend their list, they have a hard time doing it. Or there's different types of people mixed in with the list, different types of titles. Well, everyone cares about different things. So I would spend a considerable amount of time as an SDR when I started getting better. This took a while. I would be slow to build my list, much slower than my peers. And this was before all the tech that made it easy. I would look at every LinkedIn profile and I would say, that's probably my person. And I would group them by title, because the way I ask questions of CEOs is different than I ask questions for a marketing director. It's not the same talk track, because they have different jobs they're doing. They care about different things. So you want to slow down and make sure that the list you're calling is segmented by the job they're trying to get done. You might have 3 or 4 different lists. And what I would do is, before I left work, I would make sure to have a list of 40 people I was going to call the next day. Now, Bianca, why in the world do you think I did that? Why would I create a list of 40 people? I looked through their profiles, made sure they were my right people, and I made sure they were ready to go before I left work. Why do you think I did that, Bianca?
So that when you called them the next day, you would be able to have some relevancy and actually be able to dig in and get curious with them, so that they're not just another call on the phone, and they know that you actually took your time to do the research.
Spot on. Now, why not just hunt and peck for them in a CRM? Why have them prepared the day before I left work? Why would I have them all ready to go and call right in my dialer? Why do you think I did that?
I'd say, it's pretty blatantly obvious to try to dig in and hone in on the fact that they're not just another person that you're calling, and to really get curious and see if that's something that would, be for them.
All right. Who can help Bianca out? Here's my question, Bianca, and I want to keep you there.
Mhm.
I could still do that and then hunt and peck for them in a CRM. But what I did is, before I left, I put them all on a list. Like, so that when I came in, they were right on my screen versus having to hunt and peck for them in my CRM. Why do you think I organized it on my list so I was ready to go before I left work? Why do you think I did that, Bianca? You can phone a friend if you want. Phone any friend you want in the audience.
Let's go with Lucas.
Lucas, she's phoning a friend. What, Lucas, why in the world would I have this all organized in a list before I would leave work for the next day?
I would assume just because it makes you tracking your organization within your cadence a lot easier. You know who you've already spoken with, who you've yet to speak with, and then it segues into email 2, email 1, and so forth.
Yes. Does anyone know the term mise en place in cooking? Anyone in the room?
Everything in its place.
Who said that? Bring that person on the stage, that genius person. Very rarely do I hear someone. Who was that genius that said that? Bring that person up.
Me.
Can we promote that person? Who was that?
I don't
Who
actually.
was that? Maddie.
It's
Maddie, how do you
Maddie.
know that? How do you know that term? Because I rarely run into people that know that term. Can you explain what it is?
It drives my husband nuts that I cook with everything everywhere. And so he's like, mise en place, everything needs to be chopped up and in its little container and ready to go. So he taught me that.
I would get along. Now, why do chefs, that's a French culinary term, as Maddie well said, means everything in place. Maddie, what is your hypothesis for why chefs do this?
To be precise, things need to follow a certain order and it needs to be ready when the time comes in the recipe to use it.
What happens if they don't do that and the restaurant opens and everyone floods in and starts ordering food? What is the result of not having that?
Chaos, overwhelm,
Yes.
people aren't happy.
Yes. So when I go and look at sales floors and I go to see call blocks, meaning this is the time people should be calling, and I see people looking in CRMs, that means they're doing what Maddie's doing when she cooks. Things are all over the place. Not like Maddie's husband says, put everything in its place. So if you want to get better at this job, part of this is mise en place, finding the right people. But then if someone were to tap you on the shoulder and say, can you show me the 40 people you're calling today on your screen without having to hunt and peck? The top performers can say, here they are. So this is something to think about, mise en place in sales. So to summarize, we got to have the right people segmented, a strong hypothesis about a problem that they have that they don't know about, and a detached energy because we don't know till we have a conversation that they actually need our thing. Once we have that, we can start to talk about our messaging and, more importantly, our tonality, how we sound. So I've been cold calling for more than a lot of you are older. So I've gotten really good at tonality because I know the words really well. Like right now I'm learning, I don't know if you guys can see this, guitar and bass. And I'm just starting to learn like the notes. So my tone sucks. So we can't really work on our tone and how we sound until we get the words really like under our tongue. So let's work on some messaging right now for your prospects. We'll talk about two things. We don't have time to cover the whole entire cold call, but I want to get you out of the block. Let's assume right now what I want you guys to do is I want you to pull up one person you want to get in front of on LinkedIn. Anybody. Could be any person. And I'll randomly call people on this as well, hopefully. And if, by the way, if I call you randomly and you don't want to answer, you don't have to answer. You could just say pass and I'll call somebody else. There's no pressure here. But I'm just going to call people randomly because it's a little easier. And I'm just going to give someone a heads up that I might call them. And it's going to be Catalina. Okay, Catalina, just so you know, I might call on you. Okay, here we go. So for this person, I want you to write this down. This is the information that I want you to tell me when I call on you. What's the person's first name? Well, that should be pretty easy. Just read their LinkedIn profile. This isn't so hard.
Steven.
Oh, wait a second, Matt. Not yet, Catalina. I haven't given you all the questions. Look at Catalina buzzing in early. Hold on, Catalina. There's more questions. But I like the eagerness. All right, here we go. So person's first name, their title, the job that they want to get done. That's not their solution. So if I'm a runner and I'm running marathons, Catalina, what job do I want to get done? If I'm running a marathon, what do I want to do?
You want to, wait, what was the question? You're running a marathon. What's the job you want to do?
Yeah, if I'm a marathon runner, what do I want to do? Like, what's my job as a marathon runner? How many miles do I want to run?
I, I'm not too sure, like 26 miles, but I mean, you have to start
Yes.
slowly.
Yes. Well, not talking about how. Let's just talk about the job they want to get done. So
Mhm.
everyone goes to work and they have a job they want to get done. Catalina, when you go to work, what's your job that you want to get done?
I want to get bugs,
You want to get what?
like get people on the board, get meetings.
Get book meetings. That's the job you want to get done. Your prospect has a job they want to get done too. You're trying to book meetings.
Mhm.
They're trying to get their job done. So the second question is, after their name and their title, the third question is, what job do they want to get done? And I want to get very specific. They're trying to book meetings. They're trying to run 26.2 miles. Here's the next question. No matter what you sell, doesn't matter. Nobody's sitting around running marathons without sneakers, unless they're from Kenya. Let's exclude them for a second. Meaning everyone has a solution in place. Remember the spot hero example? So Josh, when you go down to Miami for an event, are you driving yourself trying to find parking, like in that expensive garage? Like taking an Uber? Or do you have like a private driver that drops you off? Or are you able to reserve a spot in advance? Those are the ways that people are getting the job done. I want you to be very specific about the ways people are getting the job done, because when we make a cold call, we're just going to call those out. And so you're never going to hear we have a vendor for that. All right. So to the best of your ability, how are people getting it done today? Spreadsheets, some other competitive product. I want you to rattle off 2 or 3 ways that you know. If you're not sure about this, ChatGPT is incredible at this. Like, I use ChatGPT every day for my like, hey, I'm targeting this person. This is the job they want to get done. Can you tell me like how they're currently doing it today? Like, what are all the different ways? I don't understand this. Can you explain it to me like I'm 10? Like, I want to really viscerally feel how they're doing it. Okay, next question. What terrible, no good, very bad thing happens if they keep doing it the current way? What terrible, no good, very bad thing happens if they keep doing it the current way? Now, why am I saying very bad, no good, very bad thing? I'll tell you right now. Nathan, do you like to gamble? Nathan, Kareem, do you like to get black? Are you a gambler, Nathan?
Yeah, I like to gamble.
Okay, do you have Venmo?
I do have MO.
Okay, this is what I'd like to do right now. I have Venmo as well. You give me your Venmo. I'll put it up on my screen. I'll
right.
give you mine. I will flip a coin right now on the Zoom. If it lands on heads, and I'll show it to everyone, I'll Venmo you $1,000 right now.
Okay.
If it lands on tails,
Okay.
you're going to Venmo me. If it lands on tails, you're going to Venmo me $1,000 right now. You want to play?
If it lands on tails, I need to Venmo you $1,000.
Right.
We get paid on Friday, so
Do
sure,
it.
let's do it.
Do it.
Let's go. Let's go, Josh.
I'm not doing that. I'm afraid to lose $1,000. And so are your prospects. And by the way, if we really did this, he'd probably chicken out at the last second, especially if I raised it to 5,000, which is what I did. So the problem is it's called loss aversion. People are more motivated to change when they feel like they're going to lose something. So that's why I say, what terrible, no good, very bad thing happens if people do nothing? Because if nothing happens, I'll just stick with my current sneakers. Jordan, do
Let's
you
see who would
remember?
have won.
Do you remember, Jordan, what happens if I kept running in my current sneakers with that fit to run story earlier in the workshop we just were talking about? Like, if I stay with my current sneakers, what terrible, no good, very bad thing might have happened to me, Jordan? Do you remember?
If you're referring to me, Jordan, it would cause an injury, right?
Yeah. Yes. What kind of injuries? Does anyone remember specifically?
Don't know if I remember the exact
Toneritis.
name.
Plantar
Runner's
fasciitis.
knee,
Yes.
plantar fasciitis.
Yes. And as an old Jewish person, that's the last thing that I want. Right? So that's your next question. What terrible, no good, very bad thing happens if they do nothing? That's going to be the last question. Now, notice what we're not focusing on. Your memoryBlue solution doesn't matter right now at this part in the cold call. Because, and this might be something you want to write down and stick on a sticky note, solutions have no value without problems. So it's madness to talk about our solution unless the prospect asks. Then we'll tell them, but not before. Okay, so what happened to the person that was on that I picked? Who was that person that was on the stage with me that was going to answer these questions? She chimed in really fast and then she left.
Me.
Okay, come back on. See if you can answer those questions for the person you pulled up on your screen.
Yeah, I actually don't know how to get up there, but
There you are. You're up here now.
oh, okay.
Okay, so person's first name,
Steven.
title.
He's the Vice President of Code and Standards Compliance.
What the hell is that? I'm assuming you've never done that before, that job, Catalina? Have you ever done a job of standards and codes and compliance? Have you ever done that job?
No.
No, me neither. Okay. What, to the best of your ability, and this is why our job is so hard as an SDR. Hey, you're hired. Go sell to this guy who's been doing this job for 25 years, and you probably don't even know what the hell it even means. Probably. Not your fault. Just, this is why let's see how you do on this, because this is hard. This is why ChatGPT can help. To the best of your ability, tell me in plain English what job you think this person is trying to get done. Remember, in the running example, guy's running a marathon, he's trying to run 26.2 miles.
Yeah, so basically he's trying to follow the rules, make sure everything at his company is following the rules and not doing anything that's breaking them.
And when you say the rules, meaning like when he can go to the bathroom, or like when he can eat, like when he can go to work, like what do you when you say rules?
Yeah, so legal rules concerning businesses.
Give me an example of a legal rule.
Yeah, so well, you're not really supposed to drink in the car, like even if you're not the person driving.
Meaning alcohol or anything?
Yeah, alcohol.
So he's enforcing the rule of people that aren't supposed to drink alcohol in the car when they're driving their tell me who are these people? These are like people out in the field doing work?
Wait, did you actually want me? Sorry, I just said like an example. It's not actually pertaining to what he just notes. More so in like compliance following like regulations like HIPAA, for example, but not exactly to HIPAA. It would be to like SOC or NIST.
Okay, give me an example.
Um,
Okay, I want to pause for a
like
second. Go ahead.
so not pertaining to this. For
No,
example,
pertaining to this
pertaining to
person.
this. Okay. So he works at Vivint, which Vivint is computers and electronics manufacturing for also like houses and things. So it'd be like from they have like sensors to thermostats, smart cameras, kind of like also the ring cameras, stuff like that. So they have privacy things. So making sure that all those privacy things are following the rules.
Excellent. Okay, good job. If you struggle with this, ChatGPT's great at it. Okay, so tell me how he's doing this today without you guys. How is he getting, when you say follow the rules, who's he trying to get to follow the rules? The people making the products?
Yeah, so like his company.
Okay. How is he or she making sure these rules are enforced today? And why is enforcing these rules important?
If I'm honest, I'm not sure exactly how he's doing it. He's a person I want to contact specifically because also I know that Vivint had some legal issues and third-party liability a few years ago. What was the other question?
No, that's perfect that you don't know.
Oh.
Because once you realize you don't know, That's where we got to go to ChatGPT and find out. Because it's possible that the problems he had have nothing to do with what you can help with. So when I make a phone call, one of the questions I might want to ask is, hey, when you guys are trying to get everyone to follow the rules, to be compliant, are you using A or B or C? So this is a question. This is one way to ask this question I call poking the bear. There's like 10 different ways to do this, but let's just start with this way. So Josh, when you're going down to Miami to go down to an event, are you driving yourself, taking an Uber? Those are kind of the current ways. Or are you able to reserve a spot in advance? So for Catalina, for your prospect, what might a version of that be for him? So, hey, when you're trying to, whatever the job is he or she wants to get done, when you're trying to, when you are doing X, Y, and Z, are you guys like doing that? Like, is that like done on a spreadsheet? Are people looking at it like in a manual? Or do you have a way to, however you make it better? What's your best shot at goal at what they might be doing?
Sorry, was that the other question? Like what they probably, how they would go about it?
Yes. Yeah. So like in this example, so Josh, when you go down to Miami,
Yeah.
it's a job. When you go to see a concert in Miami, are you taking an Uber, driving yourself, or are you able to reserve a spot in advance? What would the equivalent of that be for this particular person?
Yeah, so it would be if they were using Excel or a spreadsheet, also using a competitor, a tool that helps them do it manually, a tool, or can they automate it? Can they automate it?
Perfect. Let's write this down because you nailed it. So when you're, what's the job they're trying to get done? When you're doing, how would you label it? So I said, when you're going down to Miami, trying to go to an event in Miami, what would the equivalent of that be?
So
When you're,
when you're I focus on many things, so sorry. So when you're focusing on compliance and making sure everything is, well, when you're making sure everything is compliant, how do you go about it? Would it be with Excel, a spreadsheet, a tool that you have to manually take care of it, or automate it?
perfect.
Yeah.
Now it was bumpy because you're playing the guitar for the first time. Watch. I want you to just take a second and write down what you just said to the best of your ability. And we're going to have some other people do this as well for the person that you have on your screen. But watch how much better Catalina gets with only a few reps. Now, she just thought of this amazing question on the fly under pressure in front of the entire company. This is not easy. And I loved how it wasn't perfect. Like you could tell she was a human kind of getting it out, right? Like, is it sort of like automated? Is it manual? Is it like in spreadsheets? She's coming from a place of genuine curiosity, because if it's automated, we're going to say something different than if they say it's in spreadsheets. All right. So Catalina, let's have you ask that question again. This is only the second time she's playing the scale on the guitar. Still going to sound like she's reading it from a script, which is a natural part of the learning and mastery process that you can't skip. So just accept. She's not doing it poorly. Like I just took a guitar lesson yesterday. They taught me a scale. I get it, just like you get this, but can I play the scale at 80 beats per minute perfectly? No way. It sounds awful and robotic. It's not awful. It's just how it is when you learn something. Just part of the learning process. So what you're seeing here live on stage is Catalina playing in front of you. Like you're seeing the learning happening, and it's only her second rep. All right, Catalina, let's hear it. So when
you work on your compliance, do you use spreadsheets such as Excel, Do you use a specific tool that helps, or can you automate, or do you have it automated?
Perfect. And they're going to answer that question. And if they say we're using Excel, this is what you're going to say in a very calm voice. You're not going to say, oh my God, we can help you automate that. It's going to. You're going to lean back and in a very calm voice, you're going to say this. How's that been working out for you? How's that been going for you? And then we're going to let them talk. And then from there, we're going to gently suggest what's possible. In this case, you're going to say this. After they're done talking, hey, John, you've been doing this job for 12 years. You've probably, and you might want to write this language down. I'm not suggesting you say it exactly like this, but the intent, you've probably considered automating it. Now, why the heck am I saying it that way? You've probably. Christian Green, why am I using the word saying to this person, oh, you've been doing this for 12 years. You've probably looked into automating it. Why am I using that phraseology?
I guess it kind of invites them into the conversation, like says, hey, I know you do this, and this is why it's relevant to you.
I'm looking for something a little more. Let me press you a little bit. This person has been doing the job for 15 years. There's this thing called ego. When I say you've probably been looking into automating it, chances are that if this person's been doing this for 15 years, they're probably aware that it could be automated.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't want to make them feel dumb. They're going to say, oh, of course I've looked at it. Because you're going to start pitching something. And they're like, dude, I looked into this 20 years ago, 10 years ago. We want to assume that they know, and that's going to protect the ego. One of two things is going to happen. Either no, or yeah, I know, of course I know about automating it, you dumb idiot. I've been doing this for 20 years. Of course I know. Not, we're memoryBlue, we help you automate it. Yeah, dude, I know. I know everything can be automated. I know there's sneakers that are made for pernicious feet. I know commissions can be automated. So, hey, Josh, when you calculate commissions for a 100-person sales team, are you like using spreadsheets or is it more of an automated process? Oh, we're using spreadsheets. Oh, you've probably looked into automating it. We have. Oh, your rules were probably way too complex. Well, it wasn't that, it was X, Y, and Z. You see what I'm doing here? I am leaning back and I'm pulling the information out. I'm not pushing it at them. So Christian, I want you to stay here. And Catalina, I want you to stay here. And we're going to go through this little framework. We haven't talked about the first opening of the call. We'll get to that later. But after the opening, this is part 2, which is this is the question. And then after they answer it, how's that been going for you? And then let's assume for this one, they're doing it in spreadsheets. You're going to simply say, you've probably, hey, John, you've been, looks like from your LinkedIn profile, you've been at this for like 12 years. You've probably looked into automating it. Now they may say, what do you do? That's what we want. Or they may say, yeah, I looked into it. And then you're going to take an educated guess as to why they didn't switch. ChatGPT is amazing for this. What I do is I type in, hey, people know about this. What are the reasons they haven't switched? And you're going to get 50 things. You're going to pick one. It doesn't matter because if you're wrong, they're going to correct you because people love correcting others. They hate being corrected, but they love correcting, right? So again, the commission example for Captivate IQ. So Josh, so James, when you calculate commissions for, looks like you guys got about 120 reps there. Are you guys using spreadsheets like Excel or Google Sheets, or is it more of like an automated process? Or we're using spreadsheets. How's that been going? You must be some kind of a spreadsheet wizard to be able to do that with 120 people. Now, Christian, what did I just do there? You must be some kind of a spreadsheet wizard. What did I do psychologically? I don't need you to use these words, but I want you to understand my intent. What is that doing psychologically?
It hypes him up, kind of makes him feel good about himself.
Yes, I'm going to mess this up. Catalina, you can correct me. Is there a term you young kids use called rizzing? Rizz them up? Is that a thing? Is that what, am I using it wrong? Am I using it in the wrong context? I don't want to get in trouble with HR. I'm using it wrong. Okay, I back off that. I think it might be in the wrong. I always mess up these colloquial. But yeah, you must be some kind of a wizard. How's it been going? You must be some kind of a wizard, like doing that in spreadsheets. Bop, 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 they're going to talk. And then the next words out of your mouth are what? You've probably what?
You've probably
tried to
considered.
automate.
Oh, sorry.
Yes.
Sorry.
Yes. And then shut the front door and just listen. Okay, so let's role play this with Catalina from the beginning. She's been taking copious notes. We're going to assume we get past the opener, which we could talk about. And now we're going to get right into the meat of the call, which is the question, the poke the bear question, the listening, and the you probably. Notice I'm not saying you probably looked into memeoryBlue. I'm talking more about the category. Okay. Yeah, I can help you. How can I help you, Catalina? You have a question? What's your question?
Yeah, so when you go working on your compliance, do you use spreadsheets such as Excel? Do you use a specific tool? Or do you have it automated?
Okay, let me ask you a question, Catalina. When you say, what's the difference between tool and automated? Because those sound the same to me.
Yeah, I was trying to find a word that like kind of a tool that helps you organize it, that doesn't automate it.
Okay, are you using something like homegrown maybe?
Okay.
I don't know. Who can chime in and just describe a word for what Catalina's talking? What would they be using specifically?
So I focus on different titles. The product I do is a different thing, so I'm not too specific on just compliance things. I know there's one called Cybolt that also does compliance.
That's like a non-automated one.
I'm not
Oh,
too sure about that.
custom solution, homegrown. Let's do that. Custom solution. I like that from Adam. Let's slot custom solution, homegrown system, or custom solution instead of tool.
Okay.
I like that a little bit better. Oh, in-house from Lucas. I even like that better. You have three options. Pick the one that you like. You have homegrown, custom, or in-house. I kind of like the in-house. That's all three good suggestions. Let's swap out the tool for that. All right, let's try it again.
Okay.
Yeah, how can I help you?
Yeah, so when you work on your compliance, do you use spreadsheets such as Excel? You use an in-house solution, or do you have an automated solution?
Yeah, you were using like Excel.
How's that going for you?
Yes. Now look what Catalina's doing masterfully. She's not talking. She is waiting 2 seconds until after the person stops talking to give that third line. And she masterfully did not cut in, even though I kept talking. Let's see if she can do it again.
You've probably considered automating it.
That was a little too long, Catalina, but yes. Yeah. And if you want to make it even better, hey, thanks for sharing. John, I'm on your LinkedIn profile. You've been at this for like 16 years. You've probably considered automating it. Now, why does that sweeten it a little bit? How does that feel when I say you've been at this for 16 years? Like, what does that do to it, Catalina?
It makes them feel good, makes them feel like credible, like, wow, they've been doing this for a long time. They should be like experts.
Yes. We don't want to tell people they're doing their job wrong. So let's just try that third part one more time with the, hey, thanks for sharing. Hey, I see on your LinkedIn, you've been doing this for like 16 years. You've probably considered automating it. And action.
Yeah, thanks for showing. I've seen that on your LinkedIn. You've done this for 15 years. You've probably considered automating it.
Yes. Okay. I know we are getting close to our time and I want to open up for questions, but what I would like you guys to try to do, if you'd like to do it, is you have an opener, whatever one you're using. I'm more than happy to talk about those ad nauseum. But this is really, assuming you can get past the opener, This is how I want you to try to experiment. This is experimenting. I don't know. It's going to like see how it feels. In my opener, I might ask, hey, would it be okay if I ask you a question? Sure. And then we ask the question and then we follow that. And then just do what you want for the rest of the call. Because I can't learn more than the G major scale right now. Even though there's more to learn because my brain doesn't have the capacity. And most sales training throws too much stuff at you. I can't deal with it all. I can't deal with it all. So right now I'm just going to work on just the scale. So the question, how's it going? And the you probably. And once I get that memorized and internalized, then I could work on my tone and I could just lean back and relax and be chill. Because I'm not here to make anyone do anything. I'm here to discover if there's even an issue. Because if they say I automate it and we're happy, it's amazing, and we can't ask a question that illuminates a problem with the current way, there's really no need for you to spend any time with them. That's okay. You go find someone else that's using spreadsheets. That's a lot of people. All right, I totally hijacked this meeting. I'm gonna back off now.
This was great. This was great.
Let's open it up for questions. I totally hijacked this entire call. I do this sometimes. All right, I'm gonna be quiet now. I'm gonna take my own advice. All right, I'll turn it back to the host. Thank you, Give it up for Katarina for being such a good sport. Thank you, Katarina.
Thank you so much. That was honestly really cool and really helpful.
All right.
All right. Well, yeah, we got a few minutes left here, and let us know if you have a hard stop, Josh.
I don't. I could go over, so no problem.
Awesome. Cass, you raised your hand.
Hey, Josh. I was wondering how, like, I joined a little bit late, so you can tell me if I've already gone over, or you've already gone over this, but I was wondering how you practice tonality and kind of conveying the tone you want, throughout your sales career and how to improve upon it.
Sure. First off, I love that you're asking the question because how you sound on the call is equally as important as what you're saying. So I could tell you about how I did it, and then maybe it helps you in some small way. As I mentioned earlier, I'm actually learning how to play guitar right now.
Mm-hmm.
My tone sucks. Now, why is that? Because I don't even know the notes. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I'm trying to just get the notes under my fingers. I can't really work on how it sounds, the vibrato and dynamics, meaning some are louder and some are softer. And I can't work on any of that stuff unless I really have memorized the scale or the song or whatever it is that I'm working on. So step number one here is I got to know the words, the talk track that I want to say. Like I got to know it like I could play with my eyes closed. Once I have that, I can now start to record my calls. Now, I don't know why this is. Somebody smarter than me can probably tell me, but the mere act of listening to yourself will nauseate you and will calm you down. So once I memorize it and I listen to myself, I'll change my wiring. The detachment also helps me tremendously. Meaning, I certainly believe in what I'm selling when I call, but I don't have any assumptions, and I'm okay if it's not a fit. I know this person's not going to remember me after I get off this call. They're certainly not going to roast me in Slack. Like, they're not going to remember anything. So I'm like, I got so many people to call, like, it's cool either way. And that comes through my energy. So I'm detached from the outcome. Meaning, it's not that I'm complacent, but I'm not assuming everyone needs what I'm selling. And I'm not going to be so disappointed if they're not don't have a problem. Or if someone slams the phone on my face. Because that's the nature of cold calling. People slam the phone on my face when I cold call. It's just planes are late. Dogs poop in dog parks and people don't pick up the poop. That's just how it is. That's just how it is. And then the final thing that's helped me tremendously is meditation. I don't want to get too woo-y, but I do 10 to 15 minutes of that a day. And what that allows me to do is not get lost in thought. So I'm actually able to observe how I feel. And in that moment, it just calms the voice down. Is that helpful?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks so much, Josh.
All right. Oh, and psychedelics help as well, but we can get into that later. No,
Hell yeah. Luke Rutigliano, you still here?
Yeah, I'm here. Hey Josh, first, thank you for doing this. This has been very insightful for everybody, I imagine. For the example you used with Catalina, there's a lot of SDRs here that are selling, for example, say a lot of cybersecurity solutions. In this example used with Catalina, there's going to be a lot of prospects that may not be allowed to reveal what types of solutions they're currently using, whether it's in-house or spreadsheets or what have you. Any tips on how to navigate a conversation like that?
Yes. So I shared one example of when I say framework, I mean like how the question's structured. So this framework that I shared was current way, what's possible. There are literally 20 other ways you can ask these kind of questions. I'll just share with you a couple more. And if you want more, I know your team is giving away, I think, some licenses to my Poke the Bear. Of course, they're all in there, but I'll just share some with you. Right. So here's one. So this is a simple one. So imagine that you sell some kind of software that alerts a manager if their A players are about to leave the company. You might say, John, how are you currently knowing when someone's at risk of leaving? Hey, I know that recently 270 million unique social security numbers have been hacked, according to the national public data. How often are you checking to see if your information was leaked? How are you currently checking to see if your information is leaked? Hey, I'm not sure about you, but a lot of comp admins are using Excel and commissions, which means it's hard for reps to see how their commissions are being calculated. They knock on their door to see how it was done. How are your reps currently getting visibility into how their commissions are being calculated? Josh, a lot of homes in Marbella Drive, where you live, as you probably know, they're going up in value because there's a lot of demand. And a lot of owners, I don't know if you're included, they don't realize how much leverage they have in terms of their house. Have you had yours appraised recently? You see, again, some ideas here. When meetings dip,
Yeah.
hey, VP of sales, when meetings are dipping, like your SDRs aren't setting enough meetings, where do you usually see the break? Is it skill level, strategy, or they're just not picking up the phone? You see, these are all neutral poke the bear questions. And again, in the course, there's 30 of these that you can start to play around with. And then I have a ChatGPT prompt that will help you kind of generate. But that was just one format for these kind of questions. So here's one I was doing last week. I did a big workshop. This was awesome. There was a CEO in there. This guy came up with one that was killer that he actually used in the call. And so he got a call from a prospect, and the prospect said that they were leaving. This guy's a real estate broker. They've been my customer for 5 years. So he picks up the phone during the workshop, and they have some small talk. And this is what he said exactly. I wrote it down. This is what we did during the workshop. So John, so I'm not sure about you, but a lot of property owners with environmental sensitive sites like you guys with your die houses, they're getting hit with $20 to $32,000 in remediation fees when the tenants move out. How are you currently getting in front of that? You see here, we're assuming they know about it and that they're getting in front of it. Now, something interesting happened in this case. This guy was like, gee, that's a good question. What do you recommend? But we protected the ego by saying, hey, you probably know about this. Not sure if this is, for you or not. But this person, they have a die house. It's being used for environmental purposes. So do you. And they were hit with a $30,000 fine when the tenant moved out in remediation costs, meaning cleanup costs. Do you mind me asking, how are you currently? I love that phrase on a cold call, especially if I'm talking to someone with a big ego, which is a lot of people. Softening. Hey, do you mind me asking, how are you guys currently getting in front of that? And again, this all starts with a hypothesis, because if there's no problem with the current solution, that's cybersecurity, if there's no problem with it, there is no need for someone to switch and change. So it all starts with that hypothesis of what cybersecurity system are they currently using. I'll give you an example. Here, this might help. You might not remember this. iPods, when they first came out. I'm going to really date myself. Do you guys know what people were using before an iPod if they wanted to go run with music? Oh my God.
It's a normal MP3, right?
And a normal MP3 player. What else?
Walkman.
Yes.
Walkman. Yeah.
Walkman, CD players. What was the problem with the current way? Meaning, what was the problem of the current MP3 players before the iPod? Does anyone know the big one?
Storage.
Yes. So every product has an Achilles heel. Now, storage does not matter if I only have 5 songs. But if I run 2 miles or 2 hours and someone says, I got a Diamond Rio player, what I'm going to say is, heard a lot of great things about that. They, kind of created the awesome UI. How do you like it? What do you guys like about it? And then I'm going to say this. So I know you run 2 hours, Josh. And when that came out, state of the art, it holds 30 minutes of music, as you know, because it has a 12 megabyte chip. How are you dealing with that when you go on your longer runs? Are you like switching the songs out, or do you just listen to the same songs on repeat? Shut the front door. Oh, you've probably looked into an iPod. Yeah, I have. Oh, it was way too much money for you? Well, it's not that. I thought it was only on a Mac. You see what we're doing here? I'm asking a question that relates to my hypothesis about the problem with the current way. I have to know that. So I have to know all the current ways, and I have to have a hypothesis about the terrible, no good, very bad thing that happens if they stay with it. Now, that only matters if it matters to the person, but you have to have a hypothesis about it and see if they lean into it. Does that help you, Luke?
Does. Thank you.
All right.
All right, and then Vanessa, I'll spotlight you too here to ask your question.
Hi, Josh. I had a question. Where do you go next if the prospect already has a competitor in place? Because a lot of the people I call, they already have a solution in place that's similar to the product that I'm selling.
Perfect. Who can answer that question based on what they learned in this workshop and come on stage? Question is this. So here's the thing. No matter what you sell, everyone has a solution in place. Nobody's running with no sneakers. So Vanessa's question, Joseph, is this person has a competitor. That's not an objection, by the way. That's the truth. Everybody has a competitor. And sometimes a competitor is a spreadsheet. So Vanessa's question is, hey, if they have a competitor in place, where do we go from there? Joseph?
Yeah, I think that what you have to do is know your distinctive edge as a solution and know the distinctive problem that it solves for, and then ask a question that forces the prospect to acknowledge that problem without making them feel like dumb or like they don't know what's going on or something, and then makes them think, what am I doing for this? Or like, well, obviously they have a current solution in place, but like, what does this solution do for this problem? And then there will be nothing that they do for this problem, and then you introduce your solution.
Or not, right? So Vanessa, the iPod example is the perfect example, right? So Josh, I got a competitor. I'm using a Diamond MP3. Oh, how's that been going for you? Great. So Josh, I don't know if you're bumping into this, but I talk to a lot of people that run 2 hours. I know you're training for a marathon. And as you know, those guys are great. The UI of that product is amazing. But as you know, it was state of the art when it came out. It holds 30 minutes of music. When you go on your 2-hour long runs, how are you dealing with that storage capacity? Are you like listening to the same songs on repeat? Or do you like swap out the music every once in a while? Oh, dude, I only have like 3 songs. Oh, sounds like you're all set. There's no need for your solution. You see what I'm saying here? There's nothing to fight here. If they have a competitive solution and there's no problem, you have to find someone that has a problem. And it's not this person. it's possible that this person has a competitive solution and there's no problem that's meaningful, because problems have to be big. I have a pixel out on my TV in the back bedroom right now. It's a problem, but I rarely watch that TV and I barely notice the pixel, so I'm not getting a new TV. So it could be a teeny little problem. It's like, that's no big deal. I just swap out my music. I don't really care. No need to talk about your solution. So Vanessa, my assignment for you would be to go to ChatGPT, or even better, to interview customers, if you can. And they're all switching away from something toward you. Meaning they were all using a competitor and decided, not anymore, we're switching to memoryBlue. I want to know how the customer describes the problem. And I'm going to turn that into my poke the bear question. That's way better than ChatGPT, because it's coming out of your customer's mouth. You may have this somewhere in your customer case studies, but you got to look for things in quotes, not marketing language. And to avoid that from even happening at the beginning, do what Katrina did at the earlier call, which is to bring it out. Bring it up at the beginning of the call. Are you using A, B, or C? Or we're using, Acme. And then I have my problem statement around Acme or Beta or Charlie. I'm going to hear the same 3 or 4 all the time. Hey, I was just talking to another customer. I don't know if this is happening with you, but they were bumping into A, B, and C. How have you considered switching, but how have you been navigating that? Well, we can't really do it. And now you've created a little bit of an opening. This is a way of thinking of like, when I hear competitor, I should be thinking, what terrible, no good, very bad thing might happen if they stay with the competitor? If I don't have a hypothesis, I can't have a conversation. Does that help you, Vanessa?
Yeah, a lot. Thank you.
All right.
And then if we still have time, Josh, Luke Meir had a question as well.
Okay, Luke.
Hey, Josh. So I heard you talk about openers and that you could probably talk to them for hours. I believe I saw something on LinkedIn, specifically when I switched roles, and it was that permission-based openers lead to less conversations but convert at a higher rate versus non-permission-based openers get you into more conversations, but you don't convert them at the same rate. What is kind of your thought process on the two? And do you think that it's even to do with permission-based openers, or is it the tone that you go and ask the initial kind of engagement?
Okay, so here's the thing. Everybody writing about this stuff, including me, is trying to create controversy. Nobody fucking knows anything. I mean, how would anyone even measure? Like, just think, how the fuck would anyone even measure this shit? Like, does anyone know? No one knows anything. All these things can be found. Find the one that works for you. Experiment with permission-based openers. Hey, James, my name is Josh. I know you weren't expecting my call. Do you have a moment? I promise to be brief. Or, hey, Josh, my name's James. I'm an ad rep calling about the Inside Selling podcast. Do you still handle sponsorships for that? That's a non-permission-based opener. Hey, Josh, my name is James. You are probably going to hate me. This is a cold call. Would you like to hang up, or can I ask you a question? If you want to hang up, I completely understand. I've only been hung up on like 6 times today. You can make it 7. Like, all these can work. It's what's comfortable for you. Don't overthink it. Don't look at people on LinkedIn, including me, and like, oh, this. Whenever you see a stat, remember this on LinkedIn. Everybody is sharing perspectives, not facts. 99% of the things you read on LinkedIn are not objectively true. There's some influencer like me trying to like stir the pot. So just try some stuff, man, and work on your tone, relax, detach, and just like see what works. It's not a big deal either way. Find one that you're like, I think that's kind of cool. Try one, try another one, see what works. But like, don't worry about conversion. I don't know, dude. Who knows, dude? Nobody knows. It doesn't matter what you're saying. What about what you're saying afterwards? Does that matter? How are you even testing that? Like, who would ever know that? It's like all these stats are like BS, in my opinion. Takes the pressure off.
Got you.
Nobody knows anything.
I appreciate it. I was wondering if I saw that on my LinkedIn from one of your posts from back in the day.
Yeah,
but I
sometimes I write. Sometimes I'll say use a permission. Sometimes I say, well, I won't, and I do this on purpose because everyone's like, Josh, you're contradicting myself. I go, exactly. I don't know what's going to work for you. That's my point. Like, try something. Don't ask for feedback, not advice. Like, go try some things.
Perfect.
All right.
Thanks, Josh. I
Got it,
appreciate you
man.
taking the time.
You got it.
Well, this was amazing. I mean, we're 16 minutes over, still have 100 people. I know we haven't touched on emails at all, at the risk of really pushing for too much. Would we be able to do one more, Josh? Raymond had an email specific one.
Go ahead, Raymond.
Hi, Josh. I know you mentioned earlier like, you know, the A, B, and C part. I was wondering how you would word that in an email. Would you reword that at all, or how would you structure that? Was just curious on your thoughts on that. I mean,
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah.
Prospects
so
will
I
respond well
teach
to that.
something. I teach something called the 4T email. If you've been following me for a while, you see me talk about it. But before we actually write an email, we have to have some things mise en place in place. The first thing we have to know is, who is this person? What job do they try to get done? And what's the current way? And what's the problem with the current way? We have to have a hypothesis. And then from there, we're going to start our email with some kind of an observation about the person that relates to what is the problem we solve. So Josh, looks like you're training for Ironman Cozumel. Right? So looks like so Josh, looks like you're going to see Kronumbing in Miami later this week.
What's wrong with that?
Right? So I'm going to start with some kind of observation. Now there's 20 different observations. We probably can go into all of them, but there's ways in which you can look at someone or their company or things they're interested in or initiatives that they have and start with that observation. So what that does is it answers the question, why are you emailing me versus someone else? Now, it doesn't mean it's specifically for them. I could send that email to everybody going down to that concert. So step number one is a sentence about some kind of observation. So I call that the trigger, the first T. The second T is my sort of poke the bear question. It's like a how question. So it might sound like this. So Josh, notice you're going down to see God, I forgot to remember how to pronounce this band's name. Kronumbin. Kronumbin. Thank you. God, my wife listens to him every night, and I can never remember how to pronounce it. Down in Miami, which typically means circling parking lots for hours looking for a spot, or leaving before the last song, Maria Tambien, so you don't have to get stuck in traffic. Right. So the observation, how are you dealing with that? Right. And then the third T is third-party credibility. Over 700 people in Boca are using Spot Hero to reserve a spot in advance, so they don't have to leave early or fight traffic or circle like Mario Kart. Against taking a peek, which is the final T, which is doesn't make sense to talk. Right. So there's four kind of parts to it. In the Badass B2B Growth Guide, if any of you have it, there are literally hundreds of these written by real people with proof of positive responses that you can sort of reverse engineer. Writing cold emails is another skill, like copywriting, that you probably haven't been taught. You probably haven't been taught how to write in school, essays. This is not that. So by studying good ones, not good ones that influencers write on LinkedIn, but like ones that have proof of positive responses, you can actually see, oh, this person leaned forward. What are they doing here? Oh, they're kind of following the same idea. And then I could put some stuff in what I also do is I will lift language from customer testimonials, like quotes. So you shouldn't have to copy and paste data from Excel into Google Sheets when you're calculating commissions. That comes from something a customer said on the website, and I'm going to email a similar customer. So when I teach this stuff, the good cold email copy, if you're writing it, it's not as good as if your customers are writing it. So it's not written so much as it is found. So I have a swipe file when I was in your job of all of the things that customers said, like specific words that I could never make up. And I would slot those into my problems in my cold emails versus what I normally see in cold emails, which is marketing language. It's not how people talk. So start to create a file for yourself of like, I called it the lingo library. And I would just start to collect, and it has to be in quotes. And I have it by persona. And I would slot that, because what happens is you get an aha, you get someone nodding their head. Oh yeah, that sounds like exactly like my world. It's like you're a fly on the wall. So like when I do these workshops, there'll be SDRs in the front row, and I'll say, you know, you have a list, you're losing. And even with direct dials, you'll maybe only talk to like one or two people. Like nobody picked, people are going like this. Because it's like, that's their world. You're joining the conversation happening in their head. And the next logical place the brain goes is, what's the next sentence? Like, what do you have for me? Well, with Titan X, we know the people that are most likely to pick up the phone before you call them. So instead of having 2 conversations for every 50 dials, you have 15. Well, how the hell does that work? Right? So there's the contrast. Does that help you at all, Raymond?
Yeah, for sure. That makes a lot of sense. I appreciate it.
All right, you got it. Yeah, study good cold emails. And yeah. Or if you have someone at your company, this is something else I did when I was in your job. Like I zoned out of the training. You know what I did? A mentor told me this when I was like probably your age. I found the top salesperson in a company, the top 2 or 3, and I became buddies with them. And I just watched everything they did. And I documented it like religiously, and I just copied it. And then eventually I came into my own way of doing it, but I'm like, this person's cracked the code. They're achieving quota every month. And when I managed SDRs and someone was having a problem, they're like, Josh, what can I do? I'm like, I don't know, go sit next to Lainey. Like, just go copy her, whatever she's doing. She's figured something out. Like, it's possible, Raymond, that you have someone in your company that is really good at emails, maybe not on the phone, but their emails are doing really well. Go like over there and find out what he or she is doing and just copy them. It's not like school. You don't get in trouble for copying at work.